Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be reviewing Ghostbusters 2 from 1989. And this is directed by Ivan Reitman and stars Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis and Ernie Hudson. This sees the Ghostbusters called upon to save New York once again when Vigo the Carpathian decides he wants to rule the world. Now Ghostbusters 2 is a film I used to rewatch more than the first one as a kid. Something about the creepiness of it used to just gravitate me towards it because I was finding my way into horror a little bit there. Now, I know this isn't really a horror movie. It's more of a family-friendly kids horror movie, horror comedy. But Vigo the painting was something that used to really scare me as a kid. And Janusz as the nanny ghost, that used to freak me out all the time. And I actually couldn't wait to get to that bit to be scared of that scene. But also the river of slime was something I used to love. I used to love seeing this river on the TV because something about slime just used to pull me in, and ooze and stuff. I actually used to watch Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze over the first movie because it had that ooze in it. I know that sounds ridiculous, but this is the way my mind worked as a kid, and a lot of other kids do, I'm sure. But on rewatch through adult eyes, I hadn't seen this for a few years, I did notice a few problems with it. So let's get into Ghostbusters 2. But I really do love the whole River of Slime and Vigo the Carpathian storyline that we have here. The fact that he wants to find this vessel in a baby and wants Janusz and uses him to go out and kidnap this baby, and he wants to like take over the world. I mean, that's a creepy ghost story right there. And I liked hearing about all the backstory about how actually evil this guy was, you know, all the things he used to get up to in his time when he was alive, and people just got fed up with him and tried to kill him in every single way possible until his eventual death. So it sets up a great villain right there. Once again, we have the Ghostbusters on form here, just having great chemistry between not 3 of them for this movie, but 4 of them for the entire film. They all just bounce off each other. Venkman just being his usual joyful self in this film, and Winston has a much bigger role in Ghostbusters 2. He only came into it about halfway through the first film, but here he plays an important part of the story, and he's just really is one of the Ghostbusters now. It's gone from 3 to 4 indefinitely, and he really does have some funny moments here as well, despite being a more serious character in the first. I really like this moment where the ghost train just flies right through him and Egon goes, "Did you get the number of that train?" And he's just can't believe what's happened. He's like, "Sorry, I missed it." It gets me every time. And the comedy here is quite funny as well, just like the first one. I mean, you're getting plenty of laughs here and there. It's very, very clever comedic writing. And we've got Venkman on form once again. There's the witty dialogue, you know, he's just got so many great one-liners once again in this movie. And we even have Egon, who amps it up a little bit there. I love it in the courtroom where they fire up the proton pack and he goes, "Egon!" And then there's this little weird smile.
Egon!
But we've got some great side characters in the movie, of course. Louis Tully definitely steps it up in this movie. He's one of my favourite characters out of these 2 Ghostbusters films. I really love it in the courtroom scene where he is the lawyer and he has no clue what he is doing, and he eventually wins the case and he just goes, "Hooray, we won the case!" But he is, you know, he really stepped it up here, Rick Moranis. I think he is brilliant in these 2 films. And we've also got Janine, who's a bit more of a zany character here. You know, she's having a little bit of a romance with Louis Tully in this one, and they just seem like a perfect fit. She was trying to have a little bit of a romance with Egon in the first movie, I think, but it definitely works better with Louis Tully, and they have some great moments in the movie as well, especially when they're babysitting Oscar. You know, they're just fun to be around. I really do love that scene in the courtroom. I think it's just really put together so well. The Ghostbusters are just looking out for these ghosts that are coming towards them, and the chairs start popping up here and there, and next minute the Scolari brothers just appear and try and cause havoc around this courtroom, and the judge, who just has been so hard on the Ghostbusters, actually begs them for help. You know, he's just gone from a real hard ass to this little wimp who just is running for his life. You know, I just think it's good horror with comedy there, but also some real scenes in this movie did used to freak me out. Like I said, Janusz as the baby napper with that big smile on his face. I mean, that scene quite got to me a little bit more, even as an adult, because I'm a father now, and just seeing Oscar on that balcony, that was terrifying in itself. But to see this baby napper come down, this baby napping ghost, and take him off that balcony, man, it hits a little bit harder as a father. Let's just put it that way. We also got Vigo the Carpathian winking at Sigourney Weaver's character, Dana Barrett, when she's not looking and stuff. That's all a little bit freaky. And let's not forget them heads on the spike after the train goes right through Winston. I gotta say, it's always freaked me out a little bit with the train coming, like they can hear the train before it comes. That bit used to build up a little bit of tension for me as a kid, so it definitely goes for the more horror aspect here, despite not being an overblown horror film, of course. I think Janusz is a really great side villain to have in this movie as well. He's a little bit of a creep anyway before Vigo sort of takes over his body, because he won't leave Dana Barrett alone, he won't take no for an answer, and he's always like coming over and touching her hair and stuff like that. But he becomes even more creepy when Vigo sort of possesses him, if you like. And there's another creepy moment in this film where he's walking down a corridor and his eyes light up. There's another moment that used to freak me out as a kid. But I think it's a good little story point to have, with him acting as this vessel, the go-between for Vigo, and to do his dirty work and finally get Oscar into that art gallery so Vigo can take over him. So, I just think Peter McNichol makes the character stand out. He really makes me laugh sometimes, does Janusz.
A child.
And I actually think Vigo is a great villain despite being in a painting for near enough the whole movie. It's only really the final scenes of the film where he comes out of it, but after hearing all the backstory about him and what he's trying to accomplish here, he's basically got the city of New York in the palm of his hand, and all he has to do is tighten his grasp and it's finally going to be his. But there is a real evilness about him, especially when he comes out the painting and basically he's just this mountain of a man. The Ghostbusters can't deal with him. He just swipes them to the side with ease, and he just has every single intention of putting himself inside this baby's body to basically take over New York. So he really doesn't have any sympathy for anyone, and he's basically hell-bent on taking over the world. However, guys, like I said at the start of the video, I do have a few problems with Ghostbusters 2 that came to fruition through these adult eyes. Now, one of them is the story. In fact, it's the main problem for me, because we are basically just rehashing the original film. Okay, we've got a little bit of a different storyline involving the villains and stuff with the River of Slime, but at the start of Ghostbusters, these guys are nothings. No one even knows who they are. And that's what it is at the start of this movie. I mean, they saved New York in that first film. They were heroes. They should have statues built of them. And here, it's 5 years down the line. They're out of work. Everyone thinks they're a joke. And even the mayor doesn't want to know who they are. He kind of just looks at Bill Murray at one point and can't even recognize him. And they're doing kids' parties and stuff. They're grasping onto every little bit of money they got because they've been sued by all the major firms in New York City. And it's kind of like a Rocky V storyline we've got going on here, where it's triumph and then back to the gutter. And for me, I just feel like they start to try and build that first storyline again. And now sometimes this can work. Home Alone 1 and 2 are perfect examples, but I don't know, there's something that just irks me about that. It's kind of just knocking the original down and saying, yeah, we're just going to do all this again. This just means that all of the character arcs are exactly the same. Like I said, they're nothings. Then they start to notice something going on in New York City, and people start to believe in them. Then these people are asking them for help, so they go and help. They save New York, and they're heroes again. I mean, we are not coming up with something a little bit better than that for this sequel. Even Venkman and Dana Barrett's romance is the exact same here. Dana Barrett gives a little bit of a cringy exposition dump at the start of this film within about 30 seconds. She basically just explains the entire 5 years, how she split up with Venkman, and then how she got married, had a kid, and how he had bigger ambitions, went to a new job, and she's left single on her own with this baby. The way she explains it to Egon, I was just like, oh, really? Oh, this is a little bit awkward here. And then we aren't even given a real reason as to why they split up. It's like the movie couldn't think of it. Now, would this have made a hell of a lot difference if it was just Venkman's baby anyway and they stayed together? Did we really need to go over all that romantic storyline again? It just makes the chemistry between them not as good as the first movie and a little bit forced. Also, I don't know if this is just me, but does this feel a little bit too coincidental that Dana Barrett is the first kind of victim of this slime? At the start of the movie, this slime touches Oscar's pram and just gets a mind of its own and runs into oncoming traffic. Dana Barrett, out of all the people in New York City, the millions of people that live there, Dana Barrett, who just happened to already gone through this through the first movie, it could have been anyone, couldn't it? But no, it was Dana Barrett. What are the odds? I also think the Statue of Liberty at the end just doesn't work for me. I used to like this scene, but just seeing them paint it with this slime and then getting a mind of its own and then just stomping through the streets of New York City, it just seems so ridiculous. Yes, even in a movie full of ghosts appearing everywhere, it just seemed like it was trying to mimic the Marshmallow Man scene, but in a good way, you know, just role reversing it there. And I was just watching it going, this is just not working for me at all. Also, guys, I just want to finish on this. This is not a negative or a positive. I just noticed this time around. But on World of the Psychic at the start, where Peter Venkman has become that show host and he gets all these weirdos onto his channel, that guy who predicted the end of the world would have actually been right if it weren't for Peter Venkman and the Ghostbusters. Can you believe that? I just noticed it. I just thought he was a crazy person at the few times I've watched it, but this time I realised that he was actually right. However, guys, despite the problems here, I still had a good time at Ghostbusters 2. There's still a lot of fun to be had here. I just think there's a little bit of lazy writing in there, just retreading old ground, and maybe they could have come up with something a hell of a lot better, but it still has its moments. It's still entertaining throughout, mostly, and it's a solid sequel. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now, guys. I'm going to give Ghostbusters 2 a 7.5 out of 10. And it's really weird going back to these films as an adult and watching them again and just seeing them from a new perspective, whether they are better on rewatch or worse. I just don't think you can always allow nostalgia to get in your way. I could have given this a 9 out of 10 if I just went on how much I used to love it as a kid, but I did see the problems with it. But like I said, it's not a big thing. Ghostbusters 2 is a fine movie. Okay, guys, at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, a fun fact for Ghostbusters 2 is that the kid at the start of the movie who says, "My dad says the Ghostbusters are full of crap," is actually Jason Reitman, the son of Ivan Reitman, who went on to direct Ghostbusters Afterlife, of course. Okay, guys, hope you all enjoyed this review. Don't forget to check out my review of the first Ghostbusters movie. I'll leave that link down below. What do you think of Ghostbusters 2? Are you like me, where you see a little bit more of the problems, or are you still a big fan of Ghostbusters 2? Do you not like it at all? Let me know. Do you prefer it over the first one? I'll get back to you all in the comments, of course. Thanks so much, guys. Please subscribe and give this video a like, and I'll see you all on the next video. Take care.